Okay, well, thank you so much for taking your time with us and doing an
Thank
interview
you for
with us.
having us.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So how did you guys come up with your idea?
All right, I'll take that one to start with. So I guess we should start a couple years back when
Yes.
Shannon and I met. We were both living and working in Australia. We were both from the States, but we had never met before. We were working over there in different bars, and we just met one day and became friends. And then we were both kind of doing different things and traveling different places, and so we lost touch for a couple years, and then when we were both living in the States again, we reconnected. I knew that Shannon was going to be coming back from a trip working and volunteering in South Africa, and I was sure that she wasn't going to get a normal job like many of my other friends. So I called her, or I sent her a Facebook message and said, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's do something together. I don't want to be a bartender anymore. And so we just started bouncing ideas back and forth about what we could do to start a business, and we knew that we wanted to do something that was, that we were really cared about, and that also would kind of help the world in one way or another. So after several months of shooting ideas back and forth, we came up with the idea of a clothing line of 10 pieces that can be worn over 100 different ways, and just kind of went from there. We've spent the last year trying to source fabric, and we finally launched about a month ago on November 17th our Kickstarter campaign, which is, I guess, what we're here to talk about.
Okay, wow. So can you tell me a little bit about so who designed this thing?
We designed the line together. So we were in Central America trying to come up with this idea, like Kristin said, 10 pieces that could be combined to create over 100 different looks. And we just sort of started sketching things out and really bouncing ideas off of each other, tweaking things here and there. But the line was 100% designed by Kristin and I.
Wow, cool. And can you tell me a little bit about the sourcing process? Because this is the part of what you need to know before you determine how much you need to raise, right? So can you tell me a little bit about the sourcing process, like how much it's going to cost?
The sourcing process was difficult and horrible. It's what we've spent the past year doing, because if people watching this don't know, we're very much into sustainability, and we wanted to create a product that is doesn't use exploitative labor and is also very, as environmentally friendly as possible. So we looked at a lot of fair trade options, and we also just contacted everyone who we could think of, like farmers in Texas, and we contacted a supermodel who's into environmentally friendly, activism, and just kind of asked everyone who we could think of, like, where can we get the best and most sustainable fabric? And we finally settled on partnering with a company that is recycling 50% recycled cotton and 50% recycled water bottles. And they do the entire process from making the fabric, or recycling everything, to making the fabric, to also sewing the ripplettes within a 200-mile radius. So that's what we finally settled on, but it's been a really long, tough process.
Okay, I see. So it took you a long time for you to source these things too. But this is really behind. I think I'm just guessing that one of the reasons why you guys are so successful is because you're really, really strong on, has to be sustainability. And I think people are really inspired by it. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys come together with that? Why? And
Sure. I think it started when we started researching how to start a clothing line, and the process that you had to go through from designing to sourcing to manufacturing, distribution. We kind of started to realize how toxic the fashion industry really is. Fast fashion is incredibly wasteful. There are a lot of chemicals that go into the fabric. There are a lot of exploitive labor, sweatshops, child labor, you name it. So it was an easy decision for us that we weren't going to do it any other way. If we couldn't do it with, and not be able to sleep at night, then it wouldn't have happened. So we had to find a way that we could really own our decision and be proud of the product that we produced and know that, we were really trying to take steps and move forward in creating something sustainable and working towards a change in the fashion industry and making the industry a better business model as a whole.
Got it. Okay, wow. So that's the driving force of you guys right now. Okay, that's very clear. And so you guys got the sourcing down. So you guys know how much it will cost you for you to start up this line, right? That's
more or less. Yeah.
And is that how you determine how much you need to raise on Kickstarter? How do you guys come up with the number 20,000?
Yeah, it was basically just making Excel spreadsheets and figuring out the cost of each reward and then how much each reward we were going to, like what the price was that we were going to set for each reward. And then basically putting together a bunch of different scenarios. So if we were going to sell 150 Versalettes, then how many other rewards would we need to sell? And so it's basically just going through an Excel spreadsheet like that, looking at all the different scenarios and putting our costs together so that we knew that we would make enough to not only cover our costs for an initial order, but also be able to order double the amount that we wanted to raise and also have enough money for marketing and some other projects that we kind of have planned that we think are going to help move the business forward.
Okay, so how did you? So we're talking about the rewards and the tiers, right?
Mm-hmm,
so how did you guys come about figuring that out?
Basically, we just. Oh, go ahead, Kristin.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say you go.
Okay.
Anyway.
Basically, we got a price point from the manufacturer, or we came up with an estimated reward price for the Versalette. So for those of you who don't know, you can get the Versalette for $75 on Kickstarter. So that was kind of a price, a number that we set in our heads, and then once we talked to the manufacturer and kind of worked out a range or a certain price point that he gave us, and factored in other things like shipping. We have buttons that we have to pay for to add to the piece, cording, just different little things that add to the cost of making it. And so basically, that's how we started with the one piece, the $75 piece. But then, for example, our Kickstarter says you can get 2 Versalettes for $200. Yeah. Well, that's something we didn't think through because really it should be $150. So there are little things like that we did think about, but probably should have thought about a little bit more.
I see. Okay. So I guess, okay, I just want to see, my questions kind of flow in order so people can see that from the beginning to how you guys launch this thing. So now let's talk about the video. Your video is so awesome. I love watching the video. I think I watched it 5 times.
Thanks.
So can you tell me a little about your video and script creation process? How did you guys come up with that?
Sure. Well, we knew that we were going to do a Kickstarter for the better part of this past year. It was always in the plan. So we were always watching other people's videos and other Kickstarters and seeing what was successful and what we liked. Yeah. And so it was really just basically starting a Google Doc that's titled Our Video and brainstorming ideas. And for the past year, kind of thinking through this more and more about what do we want our message to be, and what do we want people to walk away with, and really putting the time in to kind of let those thoughts marinate. Yeah. But also just watching other videos has been such a huge inspiration for us, and we're kind of always looking at any other companies that are doing similar things to what we are. We're always kind of watching them and seeing how they effectively convey their message through a video. Yeah. And then we worked with Abe Cajudo on the video, and he helped us put the footage together. We sent him a script, but he kind of took that and made it his own and sent us back something that people seem to have really responded to.
Okay, got it. So they are a video production company?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you guys work with them with the script, and also they put together the video.
Exactly. So we sent them the footage and the script, and kind of told him we'd like to have typography here, and you know, we don't want voiceover here, and just little things. And we worked together on it until we came up with something.
How long did it take?
Shannon, you can answer that.
A long time.
How long? I want to know.
Well, the whole process of our video we started that back in March. And we hired a different group to do it, and it ended up just not really being our vision, and we ended up, parting ways. And then we started working with Abe, I think, in September maybe, or late August. And then up until he finished it the day before we launched. Like, our final edits went through, and we launched our Kickstarter the next day. So we just kept going back with rounds and rounds of edits, and it is a videography company, but he's a one-man show. He does everything himself. So he just really worked very hard for us and ended up really coming through.
This is great because people, I mean, it looks like, oh, that's a very nice, simple video. It's easy to do, like, man, there's no, thank you for sharing that. So you guys started in March, and then you guys part ways with the people that you guys worked with, and then you guys found this new person in September. So you guys worked together for 2 months before, and then he's finished the day before you guys launched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was kind of off and on as well.
Yeah.
Because we were also going through the process of getting samples of the Versalette. So we had to schedule a time with the model when we had an actual sample to put her in, and then we had to send Abe the footage of that. So it was a lot of back and forth, but I think the thought was there the whole time. I mean, it was kind of always about, all right, how can we shoot this so it'll be great for the video? It was kind of always in the forefront.
So what advice would you give to people who are creating the video?
Really, really spend time with it. I don't think we can emphasize that enough. The video for your Kickstarter profile is so important. So really know what your story is, know what your message is, and create it in an engaging way so that you keep people want to watch the whole thing, and then at the end of it they feel, like, oh, well, I really like this and I want to give them money. You know what I mean? Like, it has to invoke some sort of emotion. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Wow. I see you guys put a lot of effort in that, because the message was very clear and very strong, and it was entertaining, and at the same time I learned something about what you guys are up to. Awesome.
Thank you.
So now you guys so I'm sure you guys thought about how to spread the word out before you hit the launch button. So what are your plans, and how did you plan to get the word out before you launch?
Well, I guess we should start by saying that we started writing a blog in September 2010.
Okay.
And we have been posting to that blog about twice a week, every single week since then, except last Christmas maybe. So we've sort of slowly been building a very, very small following of people.
Yeah.
So when it came time to launch our Kickstarter, we made a couple different newsletters on MailChimp, and one we sent out to anyone who had ever left a comment or had subscribed to our blog.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big group of people. And then we also created a separate list for people who were fellow bloggers, friends who might be interested in doing a piece on us, or an interview, or just like writing up a short thing for their own blog. So we sent them something, and to both of those groups we sent like a special sneak peek of the piece, so that they would be the first people to see it before it went out on Kickstarter, and it felt like we were kind of making that connection with them.
Yeah.
And then we also sent out a third MailChimp newsletter that was a press release, and we put together a whole PDF press kit and also sent them a special lookbook, and Shannon wrote up, since she's the journalism major, she wrote up our press release, and we just kind of like sent all that stuff out before the Kickstarter actually launched, and kind of hoped that people would latch onto it.
Got it. And how early did you send those out?
I think it was the day before.
A day before.
And I wouldn't advise that. I would definitely advise doing it at least a week in advance.
A week in advance, yeah.
For us, we wanted to send it out when our website was ready and when people could see, as much as they could.
Yeah.
But for us, we just couldn't get it together soon enough to do it the week before. But we noticed that as soon as we sent that out, about a week later, a lot of people started responding and saying, oh, I want to do, a guest post or whatever. So then we were just really busy, a week in, trying to get that stuff out. I think it'd be a lot better if we had done it a little bit earlier.
Anything else you want to add to that, Shannon?
That pretty much covers it. Make sure that basically, we used MailChimp to send out our press release, and a lot of our emails went to spam folders or weren't opened for whatever reason. It's good because you can go back and look to see who didn't open what and, resend it if you need to. But I think that's one thing that I've had a little bit of anxiety about because just my mom being like, well, you didn't send it to your grandmother, but like, Mom, I did, it's in her spam folder probably. So things like that, just make sure that your emails get out there because there's no point if people don't open them.
Okay, so let me get back to you real quick. Like, so you had basically three groups of newsletter you sent out. One is a blog that you've been building for a year since September 2010.
Right.
And then the another one is just other fellow bloggers or people who has maybe a website or following. And then another group is the press release. Where did you send those to?
We sent them from a range, anywhere from like aiming big with the Wall Street Journal to our local town newspapers. So, and a range, mainly eco-fashion blogs, eco-fashion magazines, travel blogs, travel magazines, and then kind of some of the business aspect of media as well.
Okay, great. So you guys sent all that out. You guys are talking about to send a launch button. How was that? Can you tell me a little about that?
Kristin tells it best, so I'll let her do it.
Okay.
Boy.
Go ahead, Kristin.
So everything was ready. Shannon had been up for 24 hours helping our designer with the website the night before. It was like the middle of the day. We were both just super cracked out. And so we're on the Kickstarter thing. We've overlooked everything, done all of our edits, reread everything to make sure it's right. And Shannon's the one who's going to click the launch button. So we're on Skype talking this whole time. And so she's like sitting there. She's like, should I do it? And I'm like, yeah, just do it. And I'm like, no, wait, don't do it. I don't know. Like, do this. And then she's like, I'm just going to do it. And so she clicks it. And then I immediately say, like, we don't ever have to tell anybody we put this up. Because we were just terrified that, the what ifs kind of creep in, like, right when you're about to hit the launch button and say, like, yes, we're doing this. And we're going to raise $20,000. That sounds like a lot, especially for people like us who don't live on very much money. And so it was really, really scary, but I'm glad that we did it. I think it's a good kind of fear.
You glad that Shannon pressed that button? Okay, great. So after you pressed it, and then, what was your plan? So now we're talking about promoting, getting the word out when your project's live. So what have you guys been doing?
Well, immediately the good thing was that there were a lot of people who knew, like we had built it up a lot on Twitter, like, oh, we're launching in 5 days, oh, we're launching tomorrow, we're launching in an hour, that type of thing. So there was a lot of build-up. So right after we launched, it was immediate mayhem, absolute chaos, just people tweeting us, people immediately getting pledges. We raised our first 10,000 in about like 36 hours, I think, or 72 hours, something ridiculous, like really, really quickly, which was so awesome. And then we continued reaching out, and we made sure we responded to every single tweet. We responded to every single email, every single Facebook comment. We were on our computers the entire weekend. Well, we're always on our computers. But we just were really, really cognizant of the fact that we wanted to be engaged in the whole process and make sure that, you know, we appeared to be real people and not just, you know, a clothing line. Yeah. So then people started emailing us to write guest posts or do interviews, and other people returned our emails asking if we could do that. And it was just, it's a lot of guerrilla marketing for sure.
Okay, so you're managing, so you're a lot of, so, okay, I mean, all these, this is a result of everything that you built up over the year, basically. I mean, and also all the pre-launch thing that you guys did. So it did, how, because I asked this to everybody that I interview, like, is there's going to be updates and things, because what you said, the interviews and things like that, people are commenting to, contacting you, like how I contacted you, you didn't contact me, right? I contacted you to do an interview. And so what other things that would you guys be doing that's, for example, like updating on Twitter or Facebook, because you don't want to do too much of those and people would be annoyed, right? So how do you manage your social media marketing?
Sometimes I think we both feel as though we're on the verge of doing too much and talking about ourselves too much, but at the same time, that's just the nature of what we're doing. And after this Kickstarter is over, we're both going to disappear for a week, and we're not going to talk about ourselves at all, because it's really exhausting, and it's, you know, I mean, it's fun because it's going well, but it's, you know, it's time for us to start talking about other things. But we try to post to Facebook a couple times a day, and right after launch, I think we were really worried about not, you know, saturating people with, like, Kristin and Shannon. And so we weren't posting much on Facebook. Yeah. And then I started looking at what other people were doing on Facebook and realizing that a lot of people have their Facebook and Twitter set up together. So they're not tweeting 100 times a day, but they're sending messages to both audiences, you know, maybe 5 or 8 times a day. Yeah. So we started upping our Facebook a little bit, and our Facebook numbers have increased a ton. And I'm not sure if that's why, or if it's just the Kickstarter in general. But I think as much as we don't want to talk about ourselves, it is really good to give people something to share, because otherwise people can't share your story if you're not sharing anything with them. Yeah. I think that's really important. And then as far as Twitter, we're tweeting pretty much all the time, so there's no shame as far as Twitter goes.
Well, what do you guys tweet? Because you can't say come to Kickstarter, come to Kickstarter, come to Kickstarter, come to Kickstarter every time, right? So what do you guys tweet about and update on Facebook about?
The great thing is that we have gotten a lot of press, so we can retweet those or you know, repost them to Facebook. So it's not like we're just writing about ourselves all the time. You know, if there's it's happened that there's usually at least one new thing a day that we are, more or less, that we're able to retweet, repost. So, and then just really responding to what other people are saying, and if somebody writes something cool or nice about us, we can retweet that. So it's just kind of, you know, really tapping into that community that we're a part of and just engaging in conversations.
Yeah, I get that. I get that you guys doing a lot of tweeting. At the same time, you spend a lot of time actually responding to everybody. Because I sent you guys a request, and you guys responded right away, pretty much right away. So I'm sure you guys are doing that to everybody.
Well, I think that's really the cool thing about what we're doing in our business is that it is a two-girl show. Like, what you see is what you get. So we don't have a customer service person over in the Philippines, you know, that we're outsourcing to by any means. It is us. And like I said, we are on the computers all the time and really, really try to stay as on top of things as you can.
Okay. Wow. Great. So you guys still got 6 days to go, right? So I'm gonna let me ask you, what advice would you give to people who want to? What are the biggest takeaway that you guys can give to people who want to start a Kickstarter campaign?
I would say 2 huge things. Number 1 would be focusing on the video, like we already talked about. That's so important. And I think that if you go on Kickstarter and read, they've got a whole bunch of data broken down about previously successful Kickstarter campaigns. And putting a video up, as they will say as well, is just so important. So that's definitely number 1. And number 2, I think it was important for us to not just kind of come out of nowhere, and for us to have, even though we had a really tiny blog and a small following, I think that was so important because we would never have made the connections with, for example, Alyssa, who wrote a post for Forbes for us. Like, we would never have gotten in contact with her if we had just put ourselves out there on launch day and started tweeting to a couple people, like our friends and family, and said, like, hey, this is us. You should check this out. Because even a small group of people who really appreciates what you're doing will share it more than, like, we ever expected for them to. So I don't know. I think those 2 things are important, but there's probably a lot more. So.
But the second thing is so that's about building your blog a year ago, right? I mean, so can you give a little bit about building a community, like a community? What advice would you give that? Because that's what you're talking about, right? Before you start the Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, I'll let Shannon take that.
Oh, thanks.
Well, Shannon's still got to give her biggest takeaway.
Oh,
so.
Right. Okay, well, advice about building a community?
Yes.
Read anything by Chris Guillebeau, because he will help you a lot. He definitely helped us a lot. I think, as my sister was telling me, the fact that we were so religious about our posting twice a week and letting people know what we were doing, I mean, some weeks it was really boring and nobody cared and nobody commented. And then other weeks when we were, got to an interesting, kind of, it was just like a roller coaster. And when we got to the top occasionally, people would be like, oh, this is really cool, and then they would share it. So, I mean, it's not like we're writing this really super popular blog, but we were really dedicated to it, and I think we showed in each step of the way that, like, this is important to us, this is what we care about, here's why, and, like, this is how we're going to, like, build something.
Yeah.
And,
great.
So, yeah, I think just doing that kind of shows people what you're into, and it gives them a chance to be into it, too.
Yeah, and they got to know you, and that consistency is key. That's awesome. Okay, great. So Shannon, it's your turn to share your biggest takeaways.
Oh, I was just going to add, because those are, Kristin, said the 2 biggest things. Those are the 2 biggest things. Okay. But just something to add, remember if you're doing a Kickstarter campaign, remember when you go through to do your rewards that you're giving people something of value. So when you set your rewards for a certain amount, make sure it's fair, make sure it's something that, the same price they would get in the store, and that really you're not just, oh, I'm going to send you a thank you note. We are doing that too, but we're doing a thank you video for $1, like things like that kind of add to, if some stranger from off the street were to look at your campaign, they'd actually see something like, oh, like that's something that I would actually really want, here's my pledge. So that's just one thing I would add.
Great. Give people something of value. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's about it for about the Kickstarter. But I have actually a few more really quick questions. I noticed that you guys are really into sustainability, and you said, can you tell me a little bit? I just read one of your blog about international people. Like, can you tell me a little about that so people can know about that right now?
Sure. So on our Kickstarter, we're accepting We're accepting donations or backers from anywhere in the world. And a big part of this is because we have met some of the most awesome, cool people on our travels, and a lot of them have said, like, we want to be able to buy one of these pieces and to support your business. Yeah. So we have definitely said, yes, you know, international backers on our Kickstarter are totally allowed. But we also state in our Kickstarter that we don't plan to be an international company, and we don't plan to ship our products around the world. And a reason for that is that right now, you know, all of our production is happening within this 200-mile radius. And, I mean, Shannon and I both eat as many local foods as we can, for example. So it really doesn't make sense from a sustainability standpoint to make these things locally and then ship them all over the world. So, I mean, someday in the future, we really hope that there are A, more sustainable shipping methods, or that B, we could start up, you know, a similar project in countries that we'd like to sell to so that they can have local clothes as well. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have responded well to this and said, you know, that's great. And some people have, you know, wished that we were going to be shipping internationally, and they're kind of bummed about it. But ultimately, like, we're not about growing fast, making tons of money. Like, we're in this from the sustainability standpoint pretty much first and foremost. Like, we like to eat and drink beer sometimes, but this is definitely not like a money-making thing anymore. Yeah. And so, I don't know. It's just kind of what makes sense for us.
Okay, wow. So, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, at the end of the day, like, we have to stick to our values and our mission from the get-go. Like, and there will be people who disagree or, you know, about a variety of things, but we've done our research, you know, and we have to kind of just trust our decision-making, and that's kind of where we are right now. Like Kristin said, it may change in the future. If we can have that extra money to afford to pay for the carbon offset, that type of thing, then that would be great. If we can set up, you know, local manufacturing in sister countries abroad, that would be awesome too. But for now, we just kind of have to go with our gut on this.
Wow, that is so awesome. I just got to say that, because when I read the post, I'm like, what? No way. You guys are kidding. No. And then I got, when you guys say sustainability, you guys really mean sustainability, not just, you know, crapping, you know, like talking crap. So I appreciate that, and that's why I want to bring that out. And I also want to say that, you know, so for the international people who are watching this, this is your last chance, well, not the last chance, but, you know, 6 more days for you to get this before the Kickstarter campaign is over. So I just want to put that in, because that's really awesome.
Thank you.
What you guys are doing. You're welcome. Okay, so I think that's all I got. Anything you guys want to add in, or anything else you want to say?
Thanks for having us. This is fun. This is a good opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, this is cool. We'll have to do these hangouts more often for sure.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. And the last thing I want to say is if anyone watching this want to see the replay of this, go to productlaunthatworks.com/Kickstarter. And if you're interested in more interviews like this also, so you can go to that website. And so that's it for us. And thank you so much for your time. And it was really fun meeting you guys. So let's keep in touch. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, you guys take care.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.